This video is about simplifying radicals. So what happens when you multiply a root by itself? So let's say we have the square root of x times the square root of x. Well, when I multiply, x times x gets us x squared under the square root. And remember that the square root, we would just cut that in half, which gets us x. So basically, what happens is that this started, we could say, as a square root of x squared. So when you multiply by itself, the number under the radical is what you're going to get out, because those radicals and squares, like we see in this step, are inverse of each other, so they cancel out. So let's use this idea to apply to some special cases. So in number 1, we have the parentheses 2 root 6 squared. So we're going to write this twice, 2 root 6 times 2 root 6. Now remember, when we're multiplying radicals, the outsides multiply together, so the 2 and 2, and the insides multiply together, so 6 and 6. So when I multiply, this gets me 4 root 36. Remember that 36 is a perfect square, so it's really a square root, which is really 6. So now we have 4 times 6, which is 24. In number 2, the same thing, parentheses, now it's negative 2 root 6 squared. So I'm going to rewrite this negative 2 root 6 times negative 2 root 6. Remember, when something's squared, you write it the exact same twice. So I'm going to multiply the outsides together. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. Square root 6 times 6 is 36. So the square root of 36 is 6. So we have 4 times 6, which is also 24. Number 3, 2 root parentheses root 6 squared. So this time only the root 6 is in parentheses, so we're only going to rewrite the root 6 twice. So 2 is the only number out front, so it stays as a 2 root 6 times 6 gets us 36. Remember that the square root of 36 again is 6. 2 times 6 gets us 12. Number 4, negative 2 parentheses square root of 6 squared. So negative 2, and the only thing in parentheses is root 6, so we're going to rewrite that twice. Root 6 times root 6. So negative 2 is the only number outside. And underneath, 6 times 6 is 36. Remember that the square root of 36 is 6 again, so 2 times 6 gets us negative 12. Let's see what happens when we mix a number and a variable together. So in number 5, we have parentheses 9 root a, all in parentheses squared. So we're going to rewrite it as 9 root a times 9 root a. So 9 times 9 on the numbers on the outside gets us 81. Root, remember, a times a, we're adding the exponents, so they each have an exponent of 1, which becomes a squared. Remember that the square root of a squared, it's an even number, so when we cut that in half, we get 81a. Number 6, we have negative 9 root a times negative 9 root a. So negative 9 times negative 9 is 81. Root a times a gets us a squared. Remember, the square root of a squared is just a, so we have 81a. Number 7, we have 9 parentheses square root of a squared, so we're going to rewrite the square root of a twice. So the square root of a times the square root of a is 9 root a squared. And the square root of a squared is just a, so we have 9a. In number 8, negative 9, and we're going to rewrite the square root of a twice. So we get negative 9 root a squared. The square root of a squared is just a, so we get negative 9a. The last 4 problems only have variables in them that we're going to work with. So in number 9, we have parentheses negative a root c squared. So we're going to rewrite this as negative a root c times negative a root c. So negative a times negative a is a squared. Root c times c is c squared. Remember that we have to take the square root of c squared. So we're left with a squared c. Number 10, the square root, parentheses a root 6 squared. So we're going to rewrite this as a root c times a root c. So a times a gets us a squared. Root c times c is c squared. The square root of c squared is just c, so we have a squared c. In 11, the a is not in the parentheses, so we only rewrite the square root of c twice. So we have a root c squared. Remember that the square root of c squared is c, so we have ac. And our last one, number 12, negative a, and we're going to rewrite the square root of c twice. So we have negative a square root c squared. Square root of c squared is c, so we have negative ac.